Jagrata. The cost of freedom, the cost of peace, the cost of God realization is actually very, very cheap. The reason it's cheap is because you must pay something for it, but what you have to pay is something you don't want to keep. You may even have to pay lots for it, but you're paying lots of something you have no use for, something of no value. In fact, what you pay for freedom is the willingness to give away which causes your suffering. How can they even call it a cost? The yogi understands this. What do you pay? If you want to be free, there can't be anything that this world can do that can disturb you, that can threaten you, that can, in truth, create disturbance and take your peace away. If there is anything this world can do that can do that, then by definition you're not free. Something can still happen in this world, even one thing. If there were just one thing in this world that could happen, that could take away your peace, that could take away your love, that could take away your depth, your harmony, your divinity, your seat with God, at whatever level it's at, if there is something that could take it away, then you are not free. That thing owns you. It's amazing how the psyche works. I swear if there was just one thing of all the trillions and zillions of things in this world, if there was just one that had the ability to disturb you, that one would run your life. It would be all you thought about. You would make decisions based on having it not happen. It would preoccupy your thoughts. That's how the psyche works. You would sit there and think, well, why should it be? It's just 1 out of a trillion. So it should get 1 out of a trillion thoughts. All right? If you would watch your thoughts, you'll see there's not a whole lot of things you think about. There's just a very small percentage of parts of this universe that you think about. You think only about a few people, you think only about a few things, either wanting or not wanting. It's what your psyche's made up of, thinking about these circumstances, places, or things. Well, compared to the whole universe's worth of stuff that you could be thinking about, that's not very much. Why is it that it ponders those things? Because those are the things that can bother you. Those are the things that can disturb your life. Either because you want them, and you think if you don't get them, you won't be okay, or you don't want them, and you think if they happen to you, you won't be okay. So those few things cause all this disturbance, and I'll bet you if you got rid of, if there are 10 of those major ones, if you got rid of half of them, you would think just as much about the other half. You're going to fill it up. Okay? You're going to be full of it no matter what. It's just a question of what the variety is. There are people who are absolutely fixated on only one thing. And it's not that weird. You're just fixated on 5 or 10. And that's what you understand. That's the situation. It just ponders those all the time. Why? Why does it? Because those are the things that you're not free about. Those are the things that can still bother you. And if they can still bother you, and you don't want to be bothered, then you try to solve this through thinking. You try to solve this through action. The yogi, the great one, is the being who has understood that what matters is freedom, and the only way to be free is to not let this world own you. And if it owns your thought, if it owns your heart, if it owns your soul, if it owns you, then you're not free to be your own self. You're free to be owned by, preoccupied by something other than your own self. So freedom is something you buy. God is something you buy. Peace is something you buy by the willingness to give away that which inside of you keeps you bound. How do you know what keeps you bound? Because it bothers you. Everything is so simple in the end. You don't have to be a genius or psychic or some mystical mumbo-jumbo. If something bothers you, it means you can be bothered by it. And anything that bothers you is different than other things that don't bother you. It seems so trite. Why would we even talk about it? Because it's your whole path. If something can still bother you, wait till you see what you do about it. You think about it all the time. You ponder it. You try to control it so that it won't bother you. Yoga, the deep teachings, are about releasing that which can still bother you from inside. So you see it eventually as a price you pay. Is it easy to release that which can still bother you? It should be. You would think, I don't want to be bothered. If there's something inside of me that can still bother me, take it away, give it up. I don't need it. I don't want it. Why would I still want to be bothered? That person from your ex, he still bothers you. Every time you hear their name, every time you see them, every time you see a car that was like what they used to be, it bothers you. All right? Well, it seems like you'd like to get rid of that. I mean, it's just, what's the positive? Where's the benefit in owning that? And if by giving it away you can have peace, where now you have disturbance, what does that mean? I wanted to be literal with you. It means you're driving down the street, minding your own business, and all of a sudden the song comes on that you used to all listen to. It was your song. Okay? But now there's not a year anymore, right? A y'all. All right? And the song comes on, and all of a sudden you were in a good mood, you're doing fine. Now you're not doing so fine. You're bothered. You're disturbed. Fair enough? If you were willing to pay the price of giving that up, then you could have kept driving down and being okay. That's what you got. So what you give up is disturbance, and what you get is peace. Does anybody see that? Seems like a good transaction. What you give up is negative, and what you get is positive in exactly the same degree. To whatever degree you give up that which is disturbing you, you don't have to be disturbed. You ever heard the expression, disturbing the peace? There's no more disturbing the peace, because the disturbance is gone, and now there's peace. That is the transaction you must make constantly. On a minute-to-minute daily basis, you have to sit there and say, there are things inside of me that still get disturbed. They're still disturbed by things. I am willing to give up what's disturbing me in order to not be disturbed. That's even better than saying in order to get peace, because no one can argue with that. I'm willing to give up what's disturbing me in order to not be disturbed. So let's take the example of the ex that left marks. It disturbs you to hear the song. It disturbs you to see the car. It disturbs you to read something, hear something, whatever it is that comes back into your life, and you get disturbed. Of what benefit is that disturbance? And the answer is none. There's no benefit to it. You were doing fine during the day, and now there's a disturbance. Why would you not be willing to give that up? Why would you not be willing to say, if I cannot be disturbed, I prefer to not be disturbed, therefore I'm willing to give up this disturbance, so I don't need to be disturbed. That is your spiritual growth, is that willingness to do that. But you're going to find, interestingly enough, that there's something inside of you that's not willing to. And you know how I know that? Because you haven't given it up yet. In other words, it doesn't stay there by itself. It stays there because you keep it there. You know, you got divorced 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is. How is it that this energy has still stayed inside of you that causes disturbance? And the answer is, because you have held on to it. How do I know that I'm holding on to it? How do I know that's the truth? Because when something happens that brings it back up, you're not willing to give it up. You're not willing to say, I don't want this to disturb me anymore. He's gone, she's gone, so I'm willing to let go of all of this that's inside of me so I can trade disturbance for peace. But you will find that you're not willing to. That there's something inside, very deep, that somehow gets something out of being disturbed. It's sort of like, it was so bad and it bothered me so much that there's no way I'm forgetting it. There's no way I'm forgiving. There's no way I'm letting go. Why? Because it doesn't deserve to be forgiven. It doesn't deserve to be let go. This was so wrong that I'm going to keep this, and if it causes pain, good. It should. Because it was a terribly disturbing thing, and it was a terribly wrong thing that happened, and it's almost like gives it tribute. It's almost as if it proves that you were right, because 5 years later it's still causing trouble. It's just amazing. It somehow gives expression to this tremendous disturbance that's inside. That's what you're doing with your psyche body when you don't let go of these things. You're saying, I want to show you how much you hurt me. I want to show you how much this disturbed me. And I do that by being disturbed. I do that by feeling that hatred, that anger, that resentment that comes up inside. And I'm not willing to give that up. Now, what I want as a spiritual being is you have to be willing to look that right in the eye, just right in the eye, where you realize this is not healthy, this is not reasonable, this is not good. But in order to do so, it's not a lecture that you're going to hear, it's not some sensible discussion that says if you want to be at peace and not be disturbed, you must give up inside of you that which is causing 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 particular things that are going on in this world. The whole world is filled with trillions and zillions of things, and this particular 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 are causing you disturbance. But the rest don't cause you disturbance. Why is that? Why is it that there are 5 or 10 or 15 things out of the trillions of things in this world that disturb you? And so you'll come up with an answer, and then I will ask you, is it worth it? Is that answer worth getting disturbed? Someday you'll say no. No, it's not. Why would it be worth getting disturbed? I don't want to get disturbed. I'd rather be happy. Would you rather be happy? Would you rather be disturbed? Okay? So obviously the logical answer, the reasonable answer is say I'd rather be happy. I'd rather be happy all the time. I'd rather feel love all the time. I'd rather be at peace all the time. I'd rather feel harmony all the time. Okay, then why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you letting this disturb you? And if you think you're not letting this disturb you, you have to look at why you're not willing to let it go. And I don't care what the reason is. I gave you a couple of examples just so you might be able to look at the fact that there are reasons you don't let it go. There are reasons you hold on to it. There are reasons you have a relationship with the suffering. Do you understand that? It's almost as if you don't have the relationship with the person anymore, but you have a relationship with the disturbance. You have to be willing to look that right in the eye and sit there and say, am I willing to give this up? Or do I wish to maintain a relationship with my disturbance? Is there some part of my being that needs this disturbance? Do I define myself as the person that hates my ex? Do I define a part of my being as trying to prove that I was the one who was really right, and the fact that this still disturbs me proves how terrible it must have been that 5, 10, 20 years later they're still disturbed? I don't know. You figure it out. But you don't have to ponder it. There is no right answer. There is no good answer. If you have a choice between non-disturbance and disturbance, why would you ever pick the disturbance? Have a choice between peace and love and harmony in God versus trouble and turmoil and disturbance. Why? There is no right answer. It doesn't matter what happened. But he was so mean to me, you don't understand. So you're going to prove to me so I understand. Is that what it boils down to? Right? You're going to really show me, just somehow get everybody on your side. Why? Why? You just eventually get to the point that there is no answer that you're really interested in that is going to show you that this is reasonable. You can still listen if you want, but eventually you get to the point where you say, no, I don't even want to answer it, because there is no answer that is worth losing peace, worth losing God over. None. Therefore, I have to be willing to look and say, why am I not willing to let this go? Why am I not willing to trade turmoil for peace? You can always trade turmoil for peace. How? Give up the turmoil. Give up your relationship with the turmoil. Period. All right. So that's willing. Now you get to the point that you're willing. Are you able? Are you actually able to let go, release, trade's a good word, to trade that which is causing disturbance for a state of non-disturbing peace, peace that passeth all understanding? Are you able? Well, theoretically, I think all of you have seen that if you really, really want to, if it's worth it, you can. It's all about what you want. The ability is always there. Some people say, I don't have any will. That is not true. You have all the will you need, under all circumstances, every single time, to go the whole way, wherever you want to go, in the way I'm talking about. That's not the question. The question is, do you want to assert it? Because you want something more than the tendencies and urges and energies and habits and, just the past some scars, the energy and effect that those are having. So therefore you assert your will in order to do that. And it's not even hard. Truth of the matter is, if you really wanted it that bad, it is not hard to assert your will. It is only hard to assert your will when there's competition between the habit of the flow, the tendency of the flow, and how much you don't want to do it. If they're close to each other, you're struggling. If they're not close, you're not struggling. Either it already happened, why are we talking about it? Right? We didn't even bother. I tried. No, you didn't try. Remember what Yoda said? No try. Do or not do. There is no try. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. And you know ahead of time. You understand that. If you don't want it bad enough that you think, I'll try, it means you don't want it bad enough to do it and it won't happen. All right? But if that says, oh yeah, no question, done, goodbye, absolutely not close, then you will succeed, won't you? Do or not do. No try. There's no try. Try is such a weak word. I can, Master used to say it. I can and I will. That's it. That's what you say when you know that you're willing to pay the price, because it ain't even close. You can and you will, and that's it. It will take place. You know what Yukteswar used to say? He used to tell Master to say, sooner the sun and the moon will change places in the heavens than this won't take place. I can and I will. How do you be that sure of yourself? Because it's what you really want. You really, really, really want that to happen. Therefore, the tendencies that are still putzing around inside of you that would be in the way are paper chains. You have the right to choose between disturbance or peace all the time. You have the right to. Do you want to trade disturbance for non-disturbance? If it's so clear to you the way I'm talking, that it's sort of like a no-brainer, of course I want to trade disturbance for non-disturbance. Then do it. Okay? So able is always there. Do you understand that? You are always able. Don't you dare question able. It's a question of whether you're willing. And if you're truly willing, you are able. And now comes the fun part. And it's different than you think it is. All right? I'm willing, I see it. And I'm sure as heck able, but I ain't ready. I'll do it. No, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm just not ready. No. If you're not ready, you're still on the fence. You got it? Would you like to trade your disturbance for peace? Yeah, when? You name it, babe. I'll show up, all right? It's a good trade. It's a good trade. Who's willing to trade a penny for $1? It's a good trade. Who's willing to trade disturbance for peace? I am. When? Now. Now. Constantly. Now. It's a good trade. All right? So you're ready all the time. When you are ready, willing, and able, that's when it happens. Now if you sit there and say, well, I'm ready, willing, and able, but what do I do? There is no what do I do. You got it? If you're ready, willing, and able, it's done. is done. If something happens, you know what a disturbance is to someone who's ready, willing, and able? A blessing. Time to trade. It's time to trade. It's a wonderful thing. So another disturbance has come. I'm ready, willing, and able. Therefore, I'm going to trade disturbance for peace. That's what I'm talking to you about. Are you willing to trade disturbance for peace? You can do it constantly. As often as there can be disturbance, there can be the trade of disturbance for peace. And you don't play around with it. You don't ever say later, or not this time, or I don't want to do it with this, or I'm not ready yet, or anything like that. The minute you say that, you're in big trouble. You understand that? Like, what are you playing around with? You're playing with fire. You're playing around with, gee, maybe I don't have to trade disturbance for peace. Maybe I'll get it closer. Why? If you want peace, you must trade disturbance for peace. And you don't play around with how close can I come to disturbance before I trade it for peace. Why would you even want to toy with it? Why would you even want to play with it? Why would you even want to face in that direction if you don't want to go that way? There are no decisions, there's no confusion, there's nothing, it's not close, it's nothing, it's just a no-brainer, it's a dunk. It's easy if it's what you want. So you come down at some point in your path of understanding that that's your path. You're given the opportunity constantly to see things do still disturb you. There are still things that can disturb you. As long as there are, you will feel disturbed, or you will be afraid that you will get disturbed. So you get fear, you get anxiety, you get jealousy, you get fears, you get all kinds of things go on because you're still playing this game of things can disturb me and I hope they don't happen. I need to avoid them. Instead, you stop playing the game. You play a different game. And that is the game of trading disturbance for peace. That's who I am. That's what I'm doing. Then, anytime there's disturbance, there's the opportunity to trade disturbance for peace. And you don't play with it. You just do it. And you don't, in your mind, think that there's any limit. How far would you go to trade disturbance for peace? How far will you go? Until the answer is, there is no limit. The universe is the limit. There's no end I wouldn't go to. I told you it's a good trade. It's a very, very good deal, trading disturbance for peace. And then you start to experience the peace. You say, this works even. This is neat. All right? And so you just get to the point where you say, there's nowhere I wouldn't go. There's nothing I wouldn't do. There is no limit. Nothing that would stop me from trading disturbance for peace. When you get to that point, you're already a great being. It doesn't matter whether there's still stuff left there. It doesn't matter. Not everything has to happen to touch everything and do every trade. You don't have to live off your karma. You do not. All right? You get to the point where your ready, willing, and ableness have already stretched beyond anything that can happen. Period. It doesn't mean everything has to happen. It merely means that inside of your being, you know that no matter what, you will trade disturbance for peace. Then you have absolute peace even then. At that point, you know that nothing's different than anything else. It's just another thing you will trade for peace. So you're free. You can walk around this world without fear at that point, because there's nothing that can take place that will be anything but that. That's where you have to get. If you stop shy of that, you will stop shy of realization. You will stop shy of enlightenment. There's nothing in between. It's not that you can still hold on to a couple of things. Your willingness is to say there is no limit. If you want to become limitless, there can be no limits. Doesn't mean you have to go do it. Doesn't mean you have to go make it happen. Doesn't even mean you have to ponder it and think about it. All of those are damaging to the psyche. You just have to sit deep inside and know that you are ready, willing, and able under all circumstances, that any experience of disturbance will be traded for peace. And that's it. And then you have to know that you're capable. You have to know you're able. It can't be something inside you that says, yeah, I wish. Or over my dead body, I would never be able to. You say that, you use affirmations. Oh, I can never handle if that happened. I hope that doesn't happen. I could never handle if Johnny died, or if this happened, or if anything happened to this. Or that's how you talk. Why don't you just use affirmations of limitation? That's what you affirm inside yourself. That you are not ready, you are not willing, and you are not able. That's what those affirmations say. So a wise being has found the path to be extremely simple. Ready, willing, and able. Exercised constantly. The moment disturbance starts, there is the releasing of whatever it is that's causing the disturbance. Whatever you separate out in life, so you say, okay, fine, so that could happen, fine, so I won't have this, fine, so there won't be that, fine, as long as I have my peace, as long as I have God, as long as I can reside deep inside my being, that's it. Now people think if you do that your life will fall apart, that you won't get married, or you won't keep your marriage, or your children will turn out no good, or it's not true. Life will continue to unfold pretty much the way she would anyways. I mean, you don't really have as much control as you think you do. You understand that? You didn't really create your loved one or make yourself meet her or him. You know, all these things happen based on life. All of this wasn't planned. It all just worked out that way. Okay, so life does things. Well, life will continue doing things just because you're not. Don't worry. Because you didn't make any of it happen anyways. Someday you'll wake up and see it's all happening despite you. You're creating all this commotion and all this confusion, and it continues to happen. You don't realize that until you stop. And when you're willing to trade disturbance for peace, then you're not very busy. The trade doesn't take long. Every time you feel disturbed, you trade it for peace. Period. So that's all your only job. And then the world continues to unfold, and you notice there is still things. Things do still unfold. Things still do happen. There's all kinds of things that go on. And since you don't care, they are neither for you nor against you. They are neither disturbing nor non-disturbing. They're just life unfolding, and you experience it. But inside, you are practicing the great transformation into something very special, into something very beautiful. And it becomes your life. And there is no other life. Nothing. Jai Krishna.